Shant.
Hello, Bhante. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Been very quiet these last weeks.
Interesting. Okay. I saw the platform. Platform looks very nice for the Buddha. And I don't see the
You're
big.
not going to come up for the Wesak festival here?
No, Bhante, I'll be in the. I'm in the retreat next week, traveling to California on Saturday.
Going on retreat over Wesak. That's a good idea.
Okay, thank you, yeah, Bhante. You need your blessings for sure.
Okay, friends, let's go ahead and begin with reciting Namo Tassa and the three refuges for those who like to do that. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. So welcome, friends, to this Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion and meditation and practice. I hope you're all able to receive the email I sent out on Monday with the link to the Sammaditthi Sutta. Now, for those of you who have been tuning in to this program for, a long time. We've covered the Sammaditthi Sutta once or even twice before, but because it's really, Sammaditthi, the whole of the Buddha's teaching is based on, Sammaditthi. And without understanding what the Buddha meant by Sammaditthi, people think it's just a meditation. But anyway, so I hope you're all able to read the sutta. I'm not going to reread the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of reflect on some of the important points. And through your own reading, if you have any questions on any of that, then you can ask some question. So, this discourse is actually given by the Venerable Sariputta, which was, the Buddha's chief disciple and captain of the Dhamma. So, but he was reciting this sutta to the monks. And it starts out with, one of right view, right view. What is this right view? He's asking the monks. And the monks say, well, we would come from a long distance, walking many miles to hear the talk on right view from the Venerable Sariputta. So anyway, we all know that, the Buddha's teaching is formulated in the Four Noble Truths. And the Eightfold Path actually starts with the right view. Now, but in the sutta, Sariputta is is telling, when one understands the wholesome and the root of the wholesome, and when one understands what is unwholesome and the root of the unwholesome, that is one's right view. And if one really understood that and overcame the unwholesome and cultivated the wholesome, then one, just based on that alone, it is said one could attain enlightenment. But so this is talking about, of course, our actions, and it's referring to the 10 unwholesome actions and their opposites, the 10 wholesome actions. And these 10 wholesome actions basically comprise all of the kind of different types of karma that we could possibly, do. And the wholesome and the unwholesome basically is tied up with the law of karma. And but first of all, I'll start with the right view itself. The word right view is a translation. Other people have translated it as harmonious view. And some other, definitions of it. But people are used to the term right view. So when the term right is used, it means these views lead to less suffering and more happiness, and eventually lead one to, the end of suffering. Whereas unwholesome, wrong views lead to more suffering and problems for people. So the right view, this is the view that leads to less suffering and more happiness, and eventually to liberation. But these 10 karmic actions, there's 3 by the body, 4 by speech, and 3 by the mind. These 10 actions, everything that we could possibly do or think about falls within one of these 10 actions. And 3 are by the body. The unwholesome are killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. It means hurting or abusing others through aggressive, sexual desires and so on. Those are things we do with the body. Their opposites, of course, are abstaining from killing, abstaining from stealing, and abstaining from sexual misconduct. And the 4 by speech are false speech, malicious speech, harsh speech, and useless speech. So every type of speech that we would do falls within one of those categories. So telling lies, slandering people, telling tales about other people, harsh speech, which includes, 4-letter words and things like that, and with, anger, hatred behind them, and frivolous speech. Frivolous speech is probably the hardest one to practice because there's so many gray areas where that it would include frivolous speech. And then the 3 karmic activities by the mind. And these are ill will, pride, and false views. So, so those are the unwholesome. And the opposite of them are the wholesome. So understanding that, and it comes from the law of karma. And when you engage in any of the unwholesome, any of those 10 unwholesome actions, then problems and painful results will come back to us on account of that, following the law of karma. And in the same way, if we practice the wholesome actions, then less suffering and more well-being and happiness will come from them. Again, as a natural law, the law of karma. So, the whole of the Buddhist teaching is about understanding suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. So all suffering comes from these 10 unwholesome actions and their roots. So Sariputta is starting with that because that's the really important part. Many people in the Western world, they think some of these unwholesome things are good, Look, telling lies. A lot of people think telling lies is good, or cheating others is okay, and sexual misconduct, do what you want, intoxicate the mind. So, there's a lot of, these are part of wrong views, because not understanding the law of karma. Anyway, so, and then the roots. What are the roots of these 10 unwholesome actions? The 3 roots are greed, hatred, and delusion. And the opposites of non-greed, non-hatred, or loving kindness, and wisdom. So those are the roots of the wholesome, and those roots of the unwholesome are greed, hatred, and delusion. And you could say the whole practice of Dhamma revolves around these actions. And the precepts, observing the precepts, it's all about curbing are those unwholesome actions of breaking the precepts and cultivating the wholesome ones. So after having explained the wholesome and the unwholesome and the roots of the wholesome and the unwholesome, then those monks that he was talking to said, well, that's very good and all that, but is there any other way that you could explain right view? And he said, yes. There is another way. When one understands suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering, actually, I got ahead of myself there. The second of these ways of understanding right view is the nutriment. So Sariputta says, understanding nutriment, the origination of nutriment, the cessation of nutriment, and the path leading to the cessation of nutriment. When one understands this, that is one's right view. And it's interesting because the nutriment is the food. So there's 4 kinds of nutriment. The physical food, this body needs physical food, to live. So if you don't eat food for a few weeks or so, you might starve to death. So the physical food, that's coarse physical food. But there's also subtle physical food, like just desiring material things to see, to hear, to smell, to taste, to touch. This is the food, the physical food. Those 4 elements are also part of the physical food. So and then the other ones are contact. The 3 are the mind. There's 3 kinds of mental food. Contact, that means contact with the world. If we don't have contact, the mind will remain pretty much unconscious. So that means a sound touches the ear and you have hearing. Something touches your eye, you have seeing. Something comes through the nose, you have smelling. Something lands on the tongue, you have tasting. You feel things with the body, you have feeling. Then memories pop in your mind, you have mental contact. So these 6 kinds of contact are what trigger off our mind. And then there's the volition, then the reactions that we take to satisfy that contact. The actions that we do in order to, experience that contact, that object. And then consciousness. If our brain, that's why a baby's brain, when it's born, if it doesn't have contact, if it's born in an isolated place and kept without hearing anything or smelling or tasting anything, it would be kind of hard, but anyway, its brain wouldn't develop. And also volition. The brain has to, by acting and reacting and experiencing pleasure and pain and reacting to them, that's the way the new brain forms its, various neural pathways and so on due to the volition. And so we need that volition in order to grow. And then there's the consciousness. So that volition is the food for the mind too, because without that volition, the body's not going to do anything. Like volition to raise your arm up. If you're paralyzed and you couldn't lift your arm, you'd have all kind of itches and scratches and things like that, and you couldn't move. Then those neural pathways wouldn't develop. To do things, basically. And then the ego consciousness, the sense of I. Our whole life revolves around I. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I like this, I like that, I am so and so. The whole life revolves around the I, and we keep feeding it with these foods. And the more we feed it, the stronger it gets. So that's why these the 4 nutriments. Now, hardly anybody else teaches about that. We don't hear this from scientists or even psychologists or anybody like that. But anyway, so these the nutriment, understanding these nutriments, how our mind and body has come to develop based on these nutriments. And they drive all of our unskillful and skillful actions. Because out of greed or hatred, then we will do these various actions and so on, and create more karma. So the roots draw their nourishment from the food. So the roots are greed, hatred, and delusion. And they get nourished by these contacts. And by having the contacts and then reacting to them with greed, hatred, and delusion, and that nourishes them. And that's why Venerable Sariputta started his discourse with understanding the wholesome and the unwholesome and their roots. And then went on to talk about the nutriments, which nourishes those roots, and the roots are then what cause the actual 10 karmic actions. So it's important to kind of understand that that relationship. Now, then the next or the third one category that the Sariputta talks about. Well, even if one could just understand those nutriments, how nutriments arise, how it continues, how it ceases. The way to ceasing it, one could also attain enlightenment. Then after explaining the nutriment, he goes on to the Four Noble Truths. Now, I think all of you, have a good idea of what are the Four Noble Truths. Suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. And then from that, he goes on to explaining the whole Paticca Samuppada in the reversed order, because that is the how suffering arises and how it ceases is explained in this Paticca Samuppada. But he starts with aging and death. When one understands aging and death, one understands the cause of aging and death. One understands how aging and death ceases, and the way to live and think which will bring aging and death to a cease, that is one's right view. Now, then he goes on to say, well, but what is the cause of aging and death? Now, aging, of course, is getting old, and that happens, automatically, of course. But then death, of course, is going to happen, but it's not necessarily caused by old age, because death can happen to young people. But anyway, what is the cause of aging and death? Is birth, being born. Then there's aging and death. And so he goes on to repeat the same thing over and over for all of those 12 steps of the dependent origination. When one understands birth, the origination of birth, the cessation of birth, the way leading to the cessation of birth, that is one's right view. And what is the cause of birth? It's being or becoming, accumulating karma, which is the food for the mind, to the mental formations to drive the process of, rebirth. So understanding the becoming, the origination of becoming, the cessation of becoming, and then it goes the same way through grasping, craving, and then through the contact, feeling, and all the way back down to the mental formations and ignorance. So it's a very profound sutta, but it's it's those four main categories. First stating it is, there is aging and death and birth and being. What is the cause of them? How do they arise and how do they cease? And then how to live, think, and meditate will bring them to the ceasing. So at the end of the sutta, the monks were very satisfied with the Venerable Sariputta's Dhamma talk. And so now, having said that much, if any of you have any questions about that, basically it's about Paticca Samuppada, because the whole of the teaching revolves around understanding the Paticca Samuppada. Okay, we have a golden hand there raised by Dragon Yogi. You want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yes, Bhante, can you hear me?
Speak a little louder, please.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
All right.
But you have to speak a little louder.
Okay. The question had to do with the practice every day. I've been practicing the not me, not mine, not myself, impermanent, unsatisfactory, uh, every time as much as we can all day. Um, are there any practices, other practices that we can do to help with the identity and personalizing all aspects of everything in daily life?
Well,
And I
of
know this
course, the
24-hour thing.
having mindfulness, and then, yes, when anything arises, seeing whatever it's thought, whether it's a thought of desire, a thought of aversion, confusion, you understand that, these are just conditioned mental, I like to call them mental bubbles, conditioned bubbles. And they arise on their own. They arise from habits. I'm not really doing it because it just comes through. It comes through paticca samuppada, and the deepest level of teaching is that there's no person who really owns or controls this process of paticca samuppada. Now we can manage it a little bit through the practice of Dhamma. So there is a relative self, but ultimately that relative self is an illusion too. So anything that happens saying this is not me, not mine, not myself, that is useful, but also following the precepts and following all the other steps of the Eightfold Path are equally valid. And that when thoughts come up, asking, they're ultimately they're not yours, but in a way they're affecting the deluded self. And so we have to understand both the relative and the absolute. So, in absolute truth, yes, there's no self, this is not me, not mine, not myself, but still we're the owner of our karma and born of our karma and live by our karma. Although it's not fixed, we can change our karma too through the practices that we have been talking about. But by developing, a right view. So seeing things as this is not me, that refers to the five aggregates. So this body, our feelings, perceptions, volition, and consciousness. We understand these things have just been created through the past karma. And there's nobody that ultimately owns or controls them, but we're the manager of them. It's like you manage apartments. Let's say there's a man who owns the apartments. He hires you to be the manager. So, you have to take care of the apartments. You have to, scold tenants if they're not doing things properly, if they don't pay and all that. So, but, the apartments are not yours. And so the same way, we're just temporarily inhabiting this body, but we have to take care of it because it has certain laws of nature. And if we don't take a proper care of it, then it's going to cause us pain and sufferings. If we're addicted to junk food and other kind of things, or we don't get a proper exercise, then we're going to make living in our bodies perhaps more difficult. So, but we shouldn't use that. We shouldn't use that as an excuse to overly pamper and identify with the body. The Buddha talked about the middle path, that we have to follow the middle path, avoid any extremes, not denying yourself any type of happiness or pleasure, but not indulging it to the point where you would commit any of those 10 unwholesome actions. The things that we do should be based on doing the 10 wholesome actions and nourishing the roots of those wholesome actions.
Awesome. Thank you, Bhante. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions? Don't be shy. Okay, I see another golden hand. Kimberly.
Bhante, me again. Yeah, that's a great simile about the apartment. But I try body contemplation, hair of the head, hair of the body, teeth, nails, whatever, to kind of um, to reflect on the impermanence of it, but it doesn't. I have minimal success with that.
Well, the contemplation of the body is just using this body for what its purpose is in the practice of Dhamma. I mean, using it to practice the Dhamma and not using it to gain wealth, fame, and flattery, and all these other kinds of things. But we have to live in this world too. And so, again, to follow the middle path. But to understand that the sense of self is actually in our mind, it's part of our consciousness. And we know that the body, we're just a temporary inhabitant of the body. What people identify as their self actually is their consciousness for the most part. The sense of I that's there, and the sense of I is claiming to be the owner of this body, and in a sense it is during this lifetime, but it has its own laws of nature. And so we can only, we have to try to prevent it from causing it harm to ourselves, because we still have to live in it. And we have to hopefully live in a state of relative comfort and ease, but not to get too lazy and not to use it to just enjoy the world and so on. So it's the awareness, the practice of the mindfulness is the important thing to try to be mindful of during the day, and like what is the body doing right now? It's sitting, or you're turning your head, you're lifting your arm, and understand why you're doing those things. That's mindfulness of the body, not necessarily always just saying this is not me, not mine, not myself. That can help, but you don't need to be repeating that all the time, because that will become sort of automatic, ingrained understanding once you develop the mindfulness. I don't know, did that help to clarify anything, Kimberly?
I guess maybe I'm just misunderstanding the whole idea of body contemplation and what its purpose is. So.
It's not to be infatuated by it and using it to, impress others and so on, although we do have to live in this world and we have to be presentable and so on. But understanding whatever happens to it, that's the nature of it. It's going to get sick. It's going to, old age, and you have to accept it. Just accepting the body for what it is. But you understand that we should use it to make progress on the path of the Dhamma. And so, especially when you're getting ahead of yourself, you're starting to rush with the body. Slow down, because you can't clearly see your mind if you're rushing too fast with the body. That's one of the main things with mindfulness. You're mindfully raising your arm, turning your head, and you're staying in the present moment more. And that way, you'll be able to see your intentions and your thoughts more clearly. So mindfulness of the body, in my view, is in my practice, the help of it is to be centered more in the present moment and not rushing and making mistakes, because when we're unmindful, we make mistakes. We're caught up in thoughts, not watching where we're going. We bump into something or somebody else, or we're not mindful of our speech. We get in an argument with somebody and cause a lot of problems. So these things that we do with the body and the speech, by being mindful of them, that's the way in my view, the important aspect of practicing mindfulness of the body, not just seeing it as a bunch of foul odors and, full of worms and things like that. For a person with a lot of lust, that may help, but really it's the mindfulness of the movements and using it as an anchor for our consciousness more to be more centered in the present moment, because the body is always in the present moment. But usually our mind is not aware of the body because it's lost in our thoughts. So the more you're aware of the body, when the mind starts to go off, you'll catch it sooner, and then be able to, maintain the mindfulness and hopefully avoid doing or saying something that you would regret. Okay, I see another gold hand here belonging to somebody with the initial D. You want to unmute yourself, D, and ask a question, or?
Hi, Bhante. Good evening. I think John and I have similar questions. I was wondering, because sometimes I get caught up between the middle way, eightfold path, um, being mundane versus supramundane. Because sometimes I catch myself saying, oh, well, the middle path. And I'm like, well, actually, the real middle path would be doing it in this way. And so I find that there could be some challenges there. I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on that or any advice that you have.
The middle path is mindfulness. That means the mind that is not, reacting unmindfully and avoiding the extremes. But on a mental consciousness level, the middle path is the mind that's resting in the present moment. That's the real middle path, when the mind is resting in the present moment, not going out to any kind of reactions. That's the mental middle path. There's a physical mental middle path in which you're physically trying to avoid the extremes that you actually do with the body or speech. But that usually comes from our mind. So the middle path, not going too fast, not going too slow. And doesn't mean giving up things, but it means also the moderation. But the true middle path is the mind that's grounded in the present moment. That anything that happens, you have that understanding, okay, this happened. Now, what is the appropriate response? And so your mind has a few moments to consider, is this going to be unwholesome action, or is it going to be a wholesome action? So that's the middle path, having the mind there in the middle that can make that decision without overreacting and then causing some unnecessary problems through overreacting without mindfulness.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, friends, so if there's no other questions,
But the chat has some questions. Chat box has.
who has a question?
Chat box has questions.
Oh, the chat box. Oh,
Bhante,
thank you.
it's me.
Could you say that the Four Noble Truths and dependent origination are the bare bones concepts of Dhamma, since these are the main topics of the Sutra on Right View? Absolutely. The Four Noble Truths and the dependent origination comprises the second and third noble truths. The origin of suffering is depending on ignorance arise volitional formations and all of the rest. And with the cessation of ignorance, the volitional formations, everything else down to suffering ceases. So yes, the Four Noble Truths and dependent origination are, you could say, one and the same. And that's why all of the Dhamma revolves around right view. Ignorance means having the wrong views, and ignorance is the starting point. Depending on ignorance arises the volitional formations motivated by those three unwholesome roots. Are all of the views identified in the sutta as right view considered as mundane, or some of them considered supramundane? Which are which? Well, all of the views, even the Eightfold Path, of course. The Eightfold Path is the Fourth Noble Truth. And it goes up to right concentration. And even right concentration is mundane if it hasn't reached the level of entering the stream. If you haven't developed insight along with the right concentration. So actually there's a 9th and 10th fold path too. These are not mentioned in the normal one. The Eightfold Path will get you up to the edge of a cliff. And you can either go back or you can jump off. So jumping off is like attaining stream entry. You can't go back once you've attained stream entry. You can't go back really backwards, only forwards. So all those views that we're talking about, yes, they are mundane, and until one reaches the supramundane, which is the stream entry, or the following three levels. So only when you've reached stream entry will you have supramundane right view and supramundane right speech and so on. That's the criterion that divides the mundane to the supramundane, is having the right view. Okay. And this last question, what do we contemplate if we are about to die? It would be best to contemplate nothing. That means to have your mind in the present moment, not thinking about anything, or at least some wholesome thoughts, certainly nothing of a negative nature. But you can't do that unless you've trained yourself, because the habits are too strong. So that's why the whole life should be a preparation for death. But because we don't know when death will come, it could happen tomorrow. Even if we're 25 or 30 years old, we think we're going to live another 50 years. You know, so many causes and conditions could cause our death. So from the Dhamma point of view, the whole life should be a preparation for death. Not that we're morbid about it, but so that we won't be caught unprepared. That's the main thing. And to accept it, yes, it could come anytime. Probably it won't for most people. It's not going to happen tomorrow. But for, thousands of people, just look at the news, people are dying all the time from unexpected causes. So, but the best thing, if you have, let's say, a terminal illness, you're going to have 6 months to live, that's actually the perfect way to die, because then you can actually prepare yourself. You have time to prepare yourself rather than unexpected accidents and so on, where you don't have much time to prepare yourself. But people that are getting old and, they reach 80, 90 years old, and that's the time to spend more contemplating, really letting go of anything that would keep you back, cause you to be reborn again, or at least any unwholesome types of habits, that if you are reborn, it would cause an unwholesome types of rebirth. Okay? Okay, friends, so thank you for all of your questions. Those are good questions. And so let's go ahead and take a few minutes break, come back, do some yoga breathing and stretching, and then have our meditation. Okay? See you back in a few minutes.
life.
The mic is on. Okay, friends, start standing straight. Relax your arms at the sides. Gently close your eyes. First of all, feel your feet pressing the floor. Try to feel the height and the weight of the body over the feet. Feel your arms hanging at the side. Feel the clothing touching the skin. Feel your head balanced on top. Feel your eyes in the socket. Just mentally remind yourself of the present moment of standing. Now begin some deep, slow breathing. The 3-part breathing, if you know that. After taking a deep breath, hold the air in the lungs for 2 or 3 seconds to allow all the oxygen to get out into the bloodstream, and slowly breathe out. Feel the last bit of air go out. Take a few more breaths, developing this mindfulness of breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Hold the breath a second. Breathing out, standing here and now. Feel the last bit of air go out. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to combine the breathing with these movements. So on the next in breath, raise the arms over the head. Interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch your head back, stretch upwards. And release your fingers on the out breath. Bring the arms back to the sides, feel the last bit of air go out. Again, in breath, arms over the head, stretch up, bend back a little, feel the arch of the spine. Out breath, arms back to the sides, feel the air go out. Once more, in, stretch up, bend back a little more, feel the sensation, out breath, just relax. Keep feeling the body, feel the increased sensations, especially in your hands and fingers. Feel the clothing touching your skin. You can feel the outline of the standing body, so much the better. Just letting go of your thoughts. Just let the thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Keeping the standing body in the front of the awareness. On the next in breath, lift up on the balls of the feet while raising the arms over the head in this way. Face the hands toward each other, stretch up. Out breath, come back down. Feel the air going out of the lungs, come back down. Use the in-breath to help lift up the body. Going up a helium balloon, the body rises up, stretch, out. In, stretch, out. Keep feeling the body, don't give the mind time to wander in thoughts. Feel the outline of the body. Can't feel the outline of the body, feel your head on top and the feet pressing the floor. Remember standing. Next we'll do side bending. Using both arms on the in-breath, raise both arms up. And keep your fingers and arms straight, close to your head. On the out-breath, bend over your right side as far as you comfortably can. Keep your arms parallel to each other like railroad tracks. In-breath, lift up. Pause a moment. Then the out-breath, the other side. In-breath up. Keep alternating sides with the breathing, out-breath. In, out. In. Once more to each side. And the out breath, lower the arms to the air, go out. And feeling the outline of the body, head on top, arms at the sides, feet pressing the floor, clothing touching the skin. Feel the increased life force sensation. Remember standing. Okay, now spread the feet apart about 3 feet. We'll do twisting from right to left, holding the arms out to the sides. So breathe in. From the out breath, twist to the right. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath, back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body, then twist to the other side. The out breath. In breath, front. Keep alternating sides with the breathing on your own. Relax. Feel the increased sensations in your shoulders. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Now place the hands together at the chest. The in-breath, hands over the head. Stretch up. And lower the hands to the chest. The out-breath, bend the knees, lower the body down. And keep the back upright. Feel the stretch in the hips and knees. In-breath all the way up. Again, out-breath, try to come down a little further. Third time. In. Hands to the sides, out breath. Feel the whole body. Legs spread apart, hands touching the sides, clothing touching the skin. Head balanced on top, eyes in the sockets. Should be able to feel any or all of those sensations in one glance, like looking in a mirror. Okay, next we'll do forward and backward bending. Just be careful with especially with the back bends. Don't bend back too far the first time. Careful when you lift up. Just let the hands touch the front of the legs. Breathe in. On the out breath, bend forward. Keep your head lifted up, looking out straight ahead. Let the hands come to your kneecaps. Try to flatten the spine, keeping the legs straight, the arms straight. The back flat like a tabletop. In breath, lift up. Move the hands under the buttocks for support. Let the head go back. On the out breath, bend backwards. Keep your eyes open. Not too far the first time. In breath, carefully lift up. And again, out breath, let the hands come down below the knees. Keep the head lifted up. Legs straight. Feel the extra stretch of the leg muscles. In breath, lift up. Once more, the back bend. Just be careful. In breath up. On the third time, let the hands come down as far as you can towards your ankles or feet. And hold on there. Hold that position for a longer time. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. Feel all the sensations in the legs and spine. neck bend, careful out breath. In breath, up. And the out breath is relax. Feel the body exactly as it is, each foot pressing the floor, hands touching the sides, clothing touching the skin, head balanced on top. Present moment, body centered awareness. You hear sounds in the background, it's just hearing. Okay, now bring the legs together. Do one last exercise, turning the head from right to left. On an in-breath, turn your head to the right. Try to look over your right shoulder. If you have a stiff neck, just be careful. Try not to turn your torso, only the head. On the out breath, turn the head all the way back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. In breath to the right. Concentrate into the neck vertebra. Imagine feeling them loosening up. Out breath left. In breath to the right. Out breath left. Once more to each side. On the in breath, let the head stop in the middle. Keep feeling the body. Feel that organic aliveness of the body. Present moment, body centered awareness. Middle path. Okay. So let's mindfully come back to your seats. Get ready for the sitting. Get comfortable in your sitting posture. Keep your chin lifted up, level to the floor. Just try to feel the natural inward curve of the lower lumbar spine. You can kind of imagine the spinal column going up through your back from the base of the spine to the base of the skull. Try to find that center of gravity, that point where you could either go backwards or forwards. Just gently close your eyes, feel the eyes in the socket. Sort of feel the outline of the sitting body. If you happen to hear any sounds, just understand that as it's just hearing. Try to hold the outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. Then begin some deep, slow breathing as we did in the yoga. After breathing in, hold the air in for 2 or 3 seconds to allow the oxygen all go out into the bloodstream, feed the cells of the body, and feel the last bit of air go out on the out breath. Just take a few more breaths like that, developing this mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to count the breaths from 1 to 10. Try to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. I'll do the counting for you. Just try to follow that with your breathing and concentration. So with the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the breath for a second. And with the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feel the last bit of air go out. And the next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4, out 4, in 5, out 5, in 6, out 6, in 7, out 7, in 8, out 8, in 9, out 9, in 10, out 10. When the last bit of air goes out, don't try to deliberately breathe in again. Have a little pause, let the breath come back in when it's ready. And then continue to observe its shorter, irregular rhythm. Just discontinue the counting. Just let the breath return to its uncontrolled, shorter, irregular rhythm. Keep your attention focused on the middle of the body. Feel the residual expanding and contracting movement. Especially try to feel where the clothing rubs against the skin of your abdomen, stomach, or rib cage, or chest, as it expands and contracts with each breath. Just make that the focus of your mindful concentration. Just try to be like a scientist looking down through a microscope, observing an experiment of this breathing body. This air is one of the foods, one of the 4 elements that make up the material food. This body lives off of that nutriment. And just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. You know it by feeling it. You can make these brief mental reminders to help stay more alert. Just in, sitting, out, out, sitting. Breath by breath, moment by moment. Just letting go of your thoughts. Just let your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Just keep the feelings of the breathing body in the front of the awareness. Try to turn up the power of the mental microscope. Notice more details of the breathing process. Each breath is different, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Sometimes it's an easy breath, sometimes a difficult breath. The pauses between the breaths may be longer or shorter. It's always changing. During the brief pauses between the breaths, feel the outline of the sitting body, feel those subtle vibrations, present moment vibrations. In, sitting, out, out, sitting, breath by breath, moment by moment, just allowing the body and mind to relax more and more with each out breath. Especially notice those brief pauses between the breath. And be alert for thoughts trying to sneak in, steal your attention away. Get carried away in thoughts, recognize it as lost. Take a deep, slow breath. Bring the mind back into the body. If any sounds distract the attention, know that it's just hearing. If you think about the sound, recognize that as thinking. Let go of both the sound and the thinking. Take a deep, slow breath. Stay grounded, centered in the body. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. This breathing body is the anchor for the mind to the present moment. If we lose that connection to the breathing body, the present moment, the mind gets easily carried away, distracted, lost in all kinds of unnecessary thought. Let's try to feel that process of breathing occurring within the larger sitting body. Be aware of any unpleasant or painful sensations that attract the mind. Just let them arise, well up, play themselves out, stay relaxed. Relax the mind, relax the body. You still have a lot of thoughts. Do some more deep, slow breathing. To help stay awake, centered in the body. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Opening up to the flow of impermanence, so many different sensations coming and going, thoughts coming and going through the back of the mind, sounds coming and going. But all those things are just coming and going through the expanded space of present moment awareness, body-centered awareness. Is cultivating the right view of this is suffering, this is the cause of suffering, cessation of suffering, the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Based on the unwholesome karmic habits or the wholesome habit. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. From time to time, take a few 3-part breaths. Keep the mind awake and centered. Noticing subtler sensations, subtler mental movement. The flow of impermanence. Okay, friends, now let's spend the last few minutes of the meditation shifting our attention toward cultivating thoughts of Maitri or Metta to our own body and mind, and spreading that out to all other beings. So again, just continue sitting, observing your own body and mind, sitting there. And just think about whatever your life situation is, good things that are happening to you, or any difficulties or problems. And just look upon your own body and mind with an eye of friendliness, of compassion. And begin some deep, slow breathing again. After breathing in, hold the air in your lungs for as long as you comfortably can. Try to imagine that all that oxygenated blood going into the bloodstream being like the metta, sending metta, oxygenated blood out to all the cells of your body. And on the out breath, feel the body and mind relaxing in the present moment. Just try to do that several times while cultivating this train of thought. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. May I be free from excessive attachment and aversion, worry, fear, and ignorance. May I be free from the pains and sufferings of body and mind brought about by such unskillful thought, speech, and action. May I also have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May I be able to continue to deepen my practice of meditation and developing deeper levels of right view to help free the mind from confusion and self-created sufferings. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. And try to continue to deep, slow breathing, and with each out breath now just try to send these same kind of thoughts to people that you live with, other family members, or good friends, colleagues at work, or other places, people that you've known for many years. Just thinking, may all of them be well, happy, and peaceful, free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, free from the pains and sufferings of body and mind brought about by their unskillful thought, speech, and actions. If they haven't, may they also have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. If they haven't already, may they also have the opportunity to hear the teachings of the Dhamma, to learn and practice meditation, to help free their minds from confusion and self-created suffering. May they be well, peaceful, and wise. Now in a more general way, just continue if you can, the deep, slow breathing with each out-breath. Imagine these waves of metta vibrations going outward in all 10 directions over the mountains and valleys, through the towns and cities, eventually spreading over the whole country, across the oceans, to surround the whole earth with these thoughts of metta, friendliness, kindness, compassion, wisdom, with the idea, may all living beings, wherever they might be, living near or far away, the rich or the poor, the strong or the weak, famous or the obscure, may all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful, free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance, free from the pains and sufferings of body and mind brought about by such unskillful thought, speech, and action. And may all beings have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May all beings be able to hear the mind-healing teachings of the Dhamma and to learn and practice meditation to help free their minds from confusion and suffering. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. Just like a mantra reverberating throughout space. Well, peaceful, and wise. Now to finish, I'd like to invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu. We do that chanting on a long out breath, 3 repetitions of that. Chanting the word sadhu on a long out breath, feeling those vibrations in the body and mind. So if you like, you can put your hands together at the chest, take a deep breath. Sadhu. Breathe. Sadhu. Breathe. Sadhu. Now mindfully place your hands at the edge of your knees. Take one more deep breath as you breathe in. Stretch your head back, pull the hands against the knees to arch your spine, look up at the ceiling. Lift the head up on an in breath, and on the out breath, press the chin to the top of the chest. Stretch the neck vertebrae. Lift the chin up level on an in breath and relax on the out breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends, so I hope you're able to have some moments or minutes or longer of some good concentration, mindfulness, maybe some reflections on the Dhamma, some insights. So I want to mention that next Monday I'm on another Zoom program, on another program I often attend called Dharma and Dhamma. I'm going to be giving a talk on aditthana, or the making the determination, which is one of the paramitas or paramis, in the practice of, the path. So I'll try to send that link out. It's another link. It's not this Zoom link. It's another one. If you're familiar with that program called Dharma and Dhamma, where a Tibetan monk and a Theravada monk give their take on different topics. So next Monday evening from May 5th from 7:30 to 9. Anyway, I'll try to send that link out if some of you may not have it. And so anyway, until then, or until next Wednesday, be well, be safe, be mindful, be wise. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Gratitude and appreciation, Bhante. Namo Buddhaya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante.
You're welcome.
Namo Buddhaya Bhante.
Namo Buddhaya.
Everyone Saranai Bhante.
Teravan Saranai.
Everyone Saranai.